Okay, we're now going to have a little look at construction. So we've basted all our pieces together, lots of basting, and we'll be removing a lot of that basting, so don't worry about it. So I have my front piece, which has got my zipper, and I'm using my fabric glue for this. The exact same applies to the faux leather one, so I will show you both actually. Open the zipper. I say it again, open the zipper. And for a third and final time, open the zipper. This is the zipper on the external part, not the zipper in your lining. This is the fabric one that I'm making, and I actually haven't put a zipper pocket in my lining. I haven't put anything in my lining, just plain fabric. Open the zipper. Take your two panels, so your back panel and your front panel, and lay them right sides together, matching up all of the sides, and then clip really well all the way around the outside. So you're clipping all of those layers together, the foam, if you've used it, and the lining and the exterior and everything. Now in this instance I haven't put a strap connector on because I'm going to use a side connector on this one, and I wanted to show you how to put the side connector on, so I haven't put a strap connector on this one. So there we go. We are clipped all the way around, and that's the front and the back clipped together, and they're right sides together. So what we see on the outside is the lining. So if I'm with my leather one, my faux leather one, what you see on the outside is your zipper pocket, and again this is my external pocket, my external zipper that is open. So I'm going to stitch this one first. Now I'm not going to tell you what the seam allowance is because I want you to read the pattern, and a lot of you tend to get on with these things, and several ladies have done this following just the videos, and whilst I think that's absolutely fabulous, I also think it's a really good skill to learn to read the pattern. So find I appear to have a thread caught there. So find the seam allowance in the pattern and you'll be good to go. So I'm going to stitch all the way around the outside, stitching all of those layers together. It's the back stitch at the beginning to secure my stitching. Take it slowly when you go around the curves. You don't want to mess up your curves. Now if you've used foam, you will be going through quite a few layers now, but no more than you would be if you were sewing most normal bags. And I've put foam front and back in both of these, so this is as thick as it gets, but I just wanted to show, this isn't an industrial machine, I just wanted to show you that it is possible to do on an ordinary machine. I mean, I wouldn't say this was a cheap quality machine either though, so it's a good quality machine, but it is quite possible to do. And when the ladies who posted, I asked them to put down what machines they were using so that you could see that this could be made on a variety of machines. It doesn't have to be an all singing, all dancing. And each of them used different interfacings and well, not interfacing so much, but stabilizers according to the machine that they've got, and based on the thickness of their faux leather and their previous knowledge. So we have to apply things that we've already learned to each bag that we make. So unless this is your very first bag, and I would hesitate to suggest that anybody should do this as their very first bag, you will have already gleaned some information about your machine and its capabilities. So there we go. we've stitched all of the way around. Now we come to the fun part, because now we are going to remove the basting stitches and trim away all of this foam from the seam allowance. This takes a little while to do because you've got quite a lot of basting stitches in there, but it is eminently doable. And I often use a craft knife to take out the base stitching. This one isn't very sharp. I don't know what happened to my sharp one. It was that's not going to work, so I'm going to have to use my seam ripper. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim out all of that basting stitching, and we're going to trim back our lining and our foam. So I'm just going to do it along that edge for the moment, because you probably don't need to see me doing all of it. It's a bit boring. So what we're going to do is we're going to trim out our lining as close to our stitching as we can without cutting into the stitching. So you can see I've got my scissors on the side, which makes it a lot easier to cut close to my stitching. We're going to do something called, I'm calling it an enclosed seam. It's similar to a French seam, but it's not a French seam. So that's my lining fabric taken out on that side. And now, because I've used foam both sides, I'm going to have to trim out my foam also. What you're not trimming out is your exterior fabric, so leave your exterior fabric where it is. You're just going to trim out the foam and the lining on both sides, so front and back. If you haven't used foam both sides, you only need to take the foam out of the side that you've used it. You need to take the lining from both sides though. So that's just one side I'm doing, and I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. So you're leaving your exterior fabric, just trimming out the lining and the foam. It's actually easier if you do them one at a time rather than trying to do them both together like I am, which isn't very clever. Basting stitches there that I need to remove because my foam is attached to my exterior fabric, so I need to get rid of those basting stitches. That's how I cut out my exterior fabric, which is not what I want to do. Cutting out foam is essential, absolutely essential for this. If you leave it in, you will not complete your bag, unless you've got an industrial machine, in which case even then I think you might struggle. And it's not so much even the sewing of it, I think it will look bulky as well if you don't trim it out. So it's well worth taking the effort. And I'm going to do the sides and all the way around. So just, take your time, trim it all back as far as you can without cutting into your stitching. And that's the essential part. You mustn't cut into your stitching. Let's just do the other side of that curve, and then I can show you what we'll do with our curves. Because watching me trim out foam is not really that interesting, I'm guessing. Okay, so once we've trimmed out all of the foam, and I will often trim out mainly with my big scissors. I seem to have a bit of something caught there, not sure what that is. I'll often come back in with my snips and just take out any extra bits of foam that are in there. Those snips are not sharp enough though. I don't know where my posh ones went, my sharp ones went. And take out any extra little bits of foam that are in there, literally just millimetres, but it will make a huge difference to the finished look of your bag. So I haven't finished cutting all the foam or the lining out, so you'll have to excuse me, but I wanted to show you the next stage. I find it very therapeutic, this, getting tiny little bits out. So at this point, around the curves, all you should have is your exterior fabric showing. Whether that's fabric or faux leather, it doesn't make any difference. If it's fabric, you can use a set of pinking shears around there. If you've got decent pinking shears that will cut into faux leather as well, then that's fine. But you're going to cut little triangle notches from those curves. And you're going to do this on all of those curves. So you can see there I've cut little triangles just around there. And then the rest of the seam allowance, you're just going to trim down by about half, but that's just the exterior fabric. All of the lining fabric and the foam should be cut away on both sides. So I'm going to carry on and do that, and I'll come back to you once it's done and show you where we go from there.